All right, welcome to the Life Atelier podcast. I'm your host, Emma Lavelle. This is my co-host, Rita, if you're watching on YouTube. And yes, I have very, very, very messy hair today because I have been rained on extravagantly multiple times. And I was just about to go get a cup of tea and I finished recording a video for our membership. And I thought, oh, I'll record the podcast at the same time. So again, like always modeling the messy minimalism for you. You do not need perfect hair to have a podcast or videos or run your business. So the topic also, if you're looking at this on YouTube, you can actually see Rita's face from the incident with the cat. Full story in email, jump on the list. So the topic for today is one that I coached a couple of people on last week, which is that you cannot fuck things up. Okay. One of the things, and this came up in the context of relationships and dating, right? And this idea of being scared to ask for what you want or ask for what you need out of the fear that you will fuck it up, okay? And that this one opportunity that you have for this amazing person is going to disappear. Now, a lot of people have this perspective because they haven't expanded their capacity for wanting, right? This can apply to your business as well. It can apply to your expectations in life, right? What we are experiencing in one area, we're experiencing very often in other areas too, which can be great, right? Because we can identify how we create success in different areas and apply that to another. And it can be hard too, okay? So when we have this idea that there is only one possible person out there, which, let's face it, Hollywood has sold that to us, society has sold that to us, and it's absolutely, it is not true, right? This is absolute nonsense. But when we have that idea, whether it's because of this Hollywood story or whether it's because of how we see ourselves, and we don't see ourselves as being able to hold that kind of relationship and to hold that possibility in our own lives, then we treat when we have something that feels like it, right? It feels like the magic thing. We're holding it, terrified to break it, okay? Thinking that we're going to fuck it up. And if we fuck it up, that's it. You won't get this chance again, right? And I'll give you an example from my own life. When I was 18, I applied to Oxford University and I didn't get in, right? And not only did I not get in, I didn't get into any of my universities. So in one day, well, it wasn't one day, it was like a drawn out process. It was awful. It was like rejection after rejection after rejection from like September to January. Okay. And then the final in the UK, we applied for 6 universities. And the final one came in and it was the final rejection. And I just gave up. I just switched completely. I just decided, oh, that must mean that I'm useless, right? I can't do this. I'm not cut out for this. I didn't investigate why it had happened. Nobody could understand why it happened. They wouldn't have put me forward for these kinds of opportunities if they didn't think I had a good chance of getting them. But that was it, shut down. I'm not going to play this game. I'm going to do something else. And I played other games for a long time. So really, if I was having a conversation with me as Emma at 38 years old, who has learned that she's capable, that she's tenacious, that she is very similar to her dog, when she decides to do something, it's happening. If I sat down next to the 18-year-old version of me, what I would say is like, this is just the first go. Do you want this? Right? If you want this, let's do it again. They're open every year, right? You can apply every single year until you get it if you want. Do you want it? Do you have the capacity to hold this? Okay. So right now in your life, there may be something where you feel like this is it. I've only got one opportunity. Now, number one, that just tells us that we're scared. Okay. Anytime that we think that it's this or nothing, it tells us that our nervous system is not in a regulated, calm state. There is some element of fight or flight or overwhelm going on. So, number two, when we have this thought, I can't fuck it up, what I want you to think about is then interrupting that with the thought, it is impossible to fuck it up with my person. Okay. I will know this is my person when I know that I can't fuck it up, because the more I am myself, the more I bring myself to the situation, the more we connect, the more proof that we give each other that this is my person. And the same with business, with your clients, right? If you feel that you need to be perfect, you need to be amazing, or jobs, this came up when we were talking about jobs, right? If the job doesn't have the things that you've said are your non-negotiables, if you want a job that has a certain amount of flexibility or a certain income or certain things that are really genuinely important to you according to your values, not because they're things that other people say that you should have, then we know it's not your job. We know it's not your client because they don't meet those expectations that you have set, that you have decided. You can't fuck it up. Okay. Now, the second part to this is this concept of, which I talked about back in January, I think, and I don't know if I did it on a podcast or just with like my clients and inside the Life Atelier. But is this concept of like being the unicorn, like wanting the unicorn and being the unicorn. And I've kind of forgotten about it until a friend said, am I looking for the unicorn? This is after a not great experience in dating. And my response was, yes. Yes, you are, right? Because whatever we want is so unique to us. When it's really authentic, it is so unique to us that it is our unicorn, right? Now, other people may not see a unicorn. They may see something that, like, they don't really know why we want that, okay? But for us, it is our unicorn. Our work is to then focus on building the belief that we are also the unicorn for someone else. And again, this might be in love. This might be in your work. This might be with the dogs in your life, okay? There are many people that would see Rita and say, oh my God, sorry, baby. But like, why would you want to have a dog like that? For me, she is the perfect dog. I love all the challenges that come with Rita. They help me to grow. They help me to slow down. I love her determination to live. This is a dog that is I always say to people, she's very hard to kill, right? She's nearly died many, many times. And she reflects back to me my strength as well, right? So I love that. I love sharing my energy and sharing my life with her. She also filters the people that can't handle me, right? If you can't handle Rita energy, you can't handle Emma energy, okay? So she works with me, we work together. So I just want you to think about that, of what does it mean to decide that, yes, I do want the unicorn, and also because I am the unicorn, right? What does that look like in the different concepts, in the different contexts in your life? Now, the third thing, if we think about, because what I always like to give people is a tool to actually implement these ideas. And the one that we have been using, we've been playing with this week, is the idea or the concept or the decision, right? The decision for this to be true for you, which is to not be responsible for other people's emotions. Now, that doesn't mean we be intentional brats who trample all over people. We don't think about them. It doesn't mean that we don't have empathy, but it means that we respect the fact that everybody is processing through their nervous system, that everybody is experiencing things based on their experiences, their nervous system, their culture, their socialization, and ultimately, we are not responsible for their emotions, just as they are not responsible for our emotions, right? I'm just going to let you sit with that. Okay. So, for example, if somebody says to you, here's an example. I was cooking last night and I put fennel in it, right? And I didn't intentionally put fennel in the meal. It was already part of the mix, and I discovered later. And I know that when I ask an Anglophone friend, is it okay that there's fennel? How do you feel about fennel? Even if they hate it, they'll still say, oh, it's not my favorite, but I'll definitely try it, because that's the socialization. Now, if I ask a French or a Spanish friend if they like fennel and they don't, they'll say, no, I hate it. And, and I will be very grateful for that. And I'll say, okay, great, no problem. I'll eat this tomorrow and we'll do some switching around, right? Now, I can and have done in the past, pre-living in other cultures, been very upset and offended by somebody telling me the truth that they don't like something. And I have also experienced gratitude for that honesty so that I can then do something about the situation or not. I can also say, bugger, that's really unlucky because I put fennel in this, right? So again, like, it's my choice. I'm responsible for what I make that mean about myself. Now, if I then get upset about the fact, like, oh, I put fennel in it and they don't like fennel. Oh, I should have checked with them first before I bought it. Oh, I always do this. I'm just so messy and I forget to organize these things. And I should have done a menu plan the other week, right? Then I then go into a spiral of emotions in one direction. Or I can say, you know what? This is what I've got because today the priority is connecting with my friend. And honestly, I'm more about the conversation and the connection than the food anyway. So we'll just make do. Then I'm reinforcing my identity as somebody who's all about connection and hosting in terms of the communication and the atmosphere rather than the food, right? So again, my friend is not responsible for how I react to that. How can she control which of those I choose? She can't. I choose. Okay. So when we coached on this idea earlier today, the question that we used was how, and you can use this in many situations, but how is it better for everybody when I decide that I am not responsible for their emotions? How is that good for them? What do they benefit? What do they get out of this? And what we came up with was, number one, they get to learn how to manage their own emotions, right? They get to see it being modeled, somebody who takes responsibility for their emotions and allows others the freedom, the respect to manage their own emotions. That doesn't mean they can't then say, hey, I think that's really rude, actually, right? That's a different situation. That's okay. The same as when we set boundaries. We're not controlling what then comes back from setting the boundary. What we're doing is we are being somebody who says, this is my line and I'm responsible for up to here and I'm going to protect up to here. But outside of that, that's up to you. Okay. We also get, I love this, we get energetic real estate back in our head. Because when you feed the story that you are responsible for others' emotions, and then it's your fault when they react in certain ways or they have certain thoughts, that takes up a lot of energy. I definitely recommend Gabor Mate if you're interested in this, because he talks, it's in the book, The Myth of Normal, because he goes into the real physical cost on our bodies of people pleasing, of not expressing our emotions, particularly on women, right? It's very, very interesting. So I'm going to leave you with that today until next week. I would love to know your thoughts. If you're not already in the Life Atelier, we have taster events happening, so you can join us. If you're listening to this in August, you can join us to do the Language Atelier. We're doing little 30-minute workshops together. They're like tasters of what the full Language Atelier is like. And then in September, we're going to be doing the Future Self Challenge. And again, you can apply this. So if you're feeling very stuck in people pleasing or micromanaging, trying to control others, or you're feeling a lot of judgment that you haven't got this under control, if it feels like, I've been trying to work on this and I can't do it, then the Future Self tool can be a really nice way to put some space between where you are now and where you want to be, so that you can start to think about, okay, the version of me who isn't responsible for others' emotions, how are they thinking? When I currently think this is my fault, what do they think instead? And it's just really nice for that repetition to do that a couple of times a week so that you really start to build up those neural pathways and train your brain, because that's what we're doing in the Life Atelier, really, is we're just training your brain, training your mind the way that you train your muscles and your flexibility when you do yoga. So lovely people. See you next week.